Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Happy to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports meets that thing called life. It is my honor and my privilege to be here with you on youtube.com, facebook.com, and mixlr.com, all /wakeupcalldt, where sports meets life. We have a jam-packed show for you here today, and this week we've been featuring new faces, new voices. Very excited about that, along with those that you've come to know over these last few years and some over the last decade plus. So inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin' on today's broadcast, we have a very special During Dolphin Time AD and DT. This is typically a Dolphin Dive week, and we started off the week diving into the soccer program's advancement for men's soccer at LeMoyne College to the championship game and what they took away from this season, and being a blemish on the number one team in the nation's schedule in Franklin Pierce and the number two team in the nation's schedule in Mercyhurst, a team that I think the NCAA should have let wreak some havoc in there and do some incredible things. So we got to talk with Tom Bonus, the head coach of the LeMoyne men's soccer team, and I always appreciate his time, his vision, and all the hard work that this team has put in through injury, adversity, and everything that they've had to go through. I'm very proud of where they've come this season, finishing strong. And you always like to see things, wherever they start, you always want to see them progress forward, onward, and upward. And they have done exactly that. Definitely an element of showing us what it's like to look in the face of the storm, laugh, and keep moving. So thank you to LeMoyne men's soccer for that. Bob Beretta is going to join us this morning, the AD of LeMoyne College and AD and DT. We're going to have a special of those as we are looking for the new leader in a national search for LeMoyne volleyball, and speak on more things that are going on the Heights currently with basketball getting ready to tip off and count on the floor for the men's and women's basketball team. And then around 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, I will have Michelle Montaine joining me, sports anchor and reporter from ABC 8 in Tulsa, as well as MLS Next Pro reporter will be joining me to speak on the college football climate all over the country, from the Power 5 to the Group of 5. And you know I don't like those monikers, but we will be discussing college football's climate and so much more, with a little comedy along the way. And to round out the show, as we always do, starting a little bit back today at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, we'll bring you through the Fantasy Football Power Hour with all your advice on NFL Week 10. So, with that being said, my first guest is ready here, live to go, and that is Mr. Bob Beretta. And normally we're in the same room. Now we're picture in picture. This is what life looked like for us for the last couple of years, folks. So, Bob, how are you?
I'm excellent, Dan. How are you this morning?
I'm doing very well. So we're here with Bob and a special AD and DT because there's been some news going on the Heights. We know that there is a national search for the next LeMoyne College volleyball head coach, and to just give us a little background on that and the quest to find the right person.
Yeah, thanks, Dan, and thanks for having me on. Good morning, and always an honor to be with you. We are in the midst of a national search for our volleyball program, our women's volleyball program. We only have one program here, so I generally don't call it men's or women's. It's just volleyball. But we are in search for a new leader for that program. We took a really just difficult step on Monday, and we looked. We've been evaluating that program and just thought it was time for a change. We weren't comfortable with the course of the direction of that program, so we thought that it was in everyone's best interest to make a change, and we did. And we really want to thank Bethany Fabian, who'd been here as the head coach for 4 years, played here at the Heights, was an assistant coach, and just felt like it was time for a new voice to lead that program. So that's where we're at right now, Dan. We've begun our search process. We've begun putting the advertisement out there and talking to people, and these searches are generally consuming. They take anywhere between a month to 6 weeks generally.
Yeah.
They take a little bit of time, and if you want to get it right, you need to make sure that you do your due diligence. So it's so important that we get it right rather than just do it fast. So we'll try to expedite the process. I generally like to wrap searches up within a month if we can. When you have a holiday like we do in this scenario, wrapped in the midst of it, it'll probably be difficult to accomplish that by the end of November. But certainly by time we start thinking about Christmas break, we're really hopeful that we have a new leader in place to guide our women's volleyball program.
Yeah, and when these decisions are made, Bob, obviously not easy. And like you said, Beth has played up there on the heights at LeMoyne, been an assistant. So when you have to go through this, I mean, you've spent so many years in the world of athletics. How difficult is it, when you have to kind of look to the future and say maybe we have to, look in this direction instead of that direction, and understand that people are always involved? Because I think the art of navigating through what's the right fit and what do we do and where are we going, people have to remember that there's people involved. And I feel like this country would be so much better off if we actually looked across and said, yeah, that's a human being, and where would we like these things to be? So how do you navigate that and the art of that? Because I feel like it's a lost art sometimes in a world that doesn't always kind of remember who we are, if that makes sense.
Well, that's a fantastic point, Dan. And I know that we're in the midst of college football transition period, right? The coaching carousel has already started, and we read numbers and names and rumors and huge dollar figures. And
Yeah.
I think your point is well taken. We have to remember these are human beings with families, real life situations, and every rumor that's out there impacts each family member, and it's first generation, it's second, it's so deep. But I think sometimes in this world we get caught up in just treating people as numbers, and that's very impersonal. And I can tell you these decisions are very painful. They're painful, and we're in a constant evaluation period of all of our programs.
Yeah.
That's my job as the director of athletics and recreation here, is to constantly evaluate our programs, meet with our coaches, provide guidance, leadership, hopefully a little bit of wisdom on experience. And we're constantly going through that process. And this was painful. It's painful, but as a leader, that you have to be decisive and confident in your decisions. And I am very confident, and we were decisive in our action, and it was the right move for the program. And well, you just want to do it with dignity in class. And we try to do that. We try to treat all of our individuals with dignity in class. And even in a situation like this, we'd like to try to provide a level of comfort if we can. Certainly a difficult situation and a conversation that you don't look forward to. In fact, it's the worst part of my job without question. But unfortunately, as you're dealing with programs and young people, and you have standards and expectations, and we have high expectations. And I say time and time again, high expectations don't survive low standards. So we have to maintain our standards, hold people accountable. And if we're going to serve our student athletes in the proper manner, we have to make tough decisions sometime. And this was a tough decision that we had to make.
That coming here, and I appreciate the candid words here from Bob Beretta this morning, LeMoyne College AD, joining me for a special AD and DT during Dolphin time here to start off the show on Wednesday. The future on the heights beyond that for volleyball and whatnot as you get involved in this national search. There's other things going on, and obviously a lot of questions over the last 6 months and different pieces. What type of, I know there's always the ramp up, and there's stress that can come from, just, okay, let's make sure everything's right. But basketball season's coming in, and with everything that the school has been looking at with realignment, reclassification, and all of these meetings and ad hoc committees and everything you've had to do, as much as some people might say the hustle and bustle of the holidays and the stress of fall sports going into winter sports, I would imagine as an AD with everything you've had on your plate, maybe seeing basketball come around the corner was like a, something I'm used to seeing, so to speak.
Yeah, you're always excited at the outset of any new season, whether it's spring season or fall season, rather than just specific sports, because you have multiple sports going on in every season. And we just turned the page on our fall season, as you talked about in the open, with soccer, and a tremendous ending to that season for both the women and the men. I was really pleased and proud of how our women battled all season long. We're in a process there of working through that leadership piece, because we named Yaro Zavaslan as our interim coach, and hopefully we'll have some resolution on that situation shortly on what we do moving forward. And then our men's program under Tom Bonus's leadership, I couldn't be more proud of that group. They were down to about 13 healthy bodies at the end of the year. We were joking yesterday that had they somehow earned an at-large bid, that maybe the assistant coach Callum Donnelly would have been on the pitch for them because they were really shorthanded. But again, the only blemish on the top two teams in the nation on the record with two draws and really fought like heck against Franklin Pierce Saturday night and what was a great environment for college soccer. And our team fought valiantly. They battled to a scoreless draw at halftime and then came out and let in a couple of goals in the second half. But really proud of that group. And again, the women, if you look at how they finished, the top four finishers in the regular season standings in the NE10 conference, LeMoyne was 2-1-1 against those teams. And 5 teams in all in the NE10 on the women's side made it to the NCAA. So that gives you an idea of how strong that conference really is and was this past season. We alluded to it as the strongest Division II conference in the country in women's soccer. And I don't think that you can make a strong argument against that. So really proud of how they finished. And now we turn the page and it's basketball season. Friday night, we have our home opener with the women's team here. Friday night at 5:30. Really excited about that team's start to the season with the exhibition near loss to Syracuse. And we also have a home game on Sunday. So great opportunity to come out and cheer on the Finns this weekend. And it's basketball season. I know it's felt a little more like maybe summer and not so much the winter, but now with the temperatures dipping down below freezing this morning and frost on the windshield, it's basketball season, and we're ready to dive in on Friday with the women. And then the men open up this weekend on the road at the St. Rose tip-off tournament, and we'll play a couple of games on Saturday and Sunday in Albany.
And you made mention here with LeMoyne AD Bob Beretta and our monthly AD and DT doing a bonus one as we had a Dolphin Dive earlier this week, because this is Dolphin Dive week. Typically, we had Tom Bonus join the show, and you just spoke about the men's soccer team. The women's soccer team, as you said, you named Yaro Zavaslan as the interim head coach, and you're hoping to have a resolution on kind of where this program goes from here. How do you feel he did in this interim season?
Yeah, Dan, I thought he was tremendous. It wasn't just Yaro; it was a staff that he quickly built and put around him.
Yeah.
And when you name an interim coach that late into a season, you just hope to get through the season in a competent manner, right? You want to put somebody in place that can lead, and so that you're trying to preserve somewhat of an experience for your student athletes, because it was challenging circumstances. It was 2 days before training started for preseason, about 3 weeks before the opener, and we didn't have a coach in place. So it's very hard to find one in the marketplace at that point in time. And we were blessed. We found not only someone who was a perfect fit, but just a highly competent, highly skilled individual. And what impressed me most, Dan, yesterday at a coaches meeting, and our whole staff was there, and I cited Yaro at it because I've been around some situations where we've had to name interim coaches in my career, and you generally don't find an interim coach that comes in with the degree of passion and just puts every fiber of their being into that situation. And that's what Yaro did. That's what Coach Zavaslan did. He came in and he's working in here late nights, 11:30, midnight, videotape, prepping, trying to put his young ladies in the best position for success. So he really took this to heart. It meant a lot to him, and his staff worked hard and long hours, really talented. So I couldn't be more thrilled with the work and the attitude and the energy, the work ethic, all of that he brought to this program. And he has that dual role as the president of Syracuse FC, and so when we talked to him about it, we said there was going to be no expectations either way. We're not going to expect you to commit long-term soon, but I couldn't be more pleased. Just a fine, high-character individual, and what a great leader for our young women. And he came in and established standards, new standards, and held those ladies accountable to those standards, and it showed in the results. We went from 2 wins last year to 5 this year, and arguably the toughest conference in the country, and very easily could have had several more victories where we lost 1-goal matches. In one case, we lost to St. Rose with 2 seconds left, and St. Rose, obviously, the 3-time NE10 champion now. So really pleased with the work that Coach Yaro did, and hopefully we'll have the leadership piece figured out here soon enough.
Coming here from Bob Beretta this morning. Bob, with everything going on, like I said, on the heights and all the busyness and all of that, as we look toward the holiday season, I have a light rapid fire here. I think you've had a lot of work there on the heights. There's a lot of things going on. I think you and I have a friend that evades us a lot. It's called sleep. And so while we're here this morning, I would love to ask you a few questions that are going to be off the cuff here, a little bit different. One of them being, when is it appropriate nationally to play Christmas music on the radio?
Yeah, on the radio. That's interesting. Well, I know on the satellite side, it's about November 1st, and I know there are people that are craving for November 1st. So let's say November 1st. I'm one of those people that really enjoy Christmas music. It tends to relax me.
Yeah.
So I don't play it in July and September, but when the weather starts to turn and the frost gets on the pumpkin, I think I'm ready to dive in a little bit. But I'm more of a traditional Christmas music fan.
Okay. And Christmas tree, cut it down or go find one of those fake trees that you can kind of just set it up and have it whenever you want it.
No, we've always been, our family's always been a live tree group that we've gone. We haven't cut it down. We've gone to local nurseries and try to support the local businesses around the holidays as best that we can. And we've always done that. We had a place that just closed down in Orange County and where we lived forever and ever. And that was a local nursery, that a family owned business for 50 years that just went out. They retired and closed up shop. So we're going to have to find a place up here in Syracuse now to find a live tree. I don't know that we'll cut it down, but certainly we'll be looking for the live version.
I got a few places for you, but my tradition with my family has gone in this kind of like cool, is something I feel like you'd see in a movie, and I credit my parents with this, is that my parents would take me out and we would go out to one of the farms here and go out on the tractor. My dad would cut it down, and so I'd be there with him. Maybe I'd hold it. He would cut it down and he'd carry it. And then he cut it down and we carried it. And then he cut it down and I carried it. And now I cut it down and I carry it. So there's been this like stream of kind of evolution and whatnot. I will say that I always find needles to the tree. Like, I'm still finding them from last year, and I cleaned, and I can't tell you how many times I vacuum. There's always, it's like socks in the dryer. We never know how they last, but they find a way to just escape, maybe show up later on in life. I think that when all is said and done, up in heaven, God's going to have a pile of socks and he's going to be laughing. That's what I really think.
Socks and Christmas tree needles. I agree. You find them well into the summer generally, and sometimes you find them when you go set the new tree up. You find them in places that you didn't clean from the year before. So I'm with you on that. That's one of life's big mysteries.
And a final note here for you, Thanksgiving season, what we're thankful for. We have seen this country go through a lot the last couple of years with the pandemic, a lot of division and a lot of just pulling people apart. What are you thankful for, and what would you like to reflect upon as we are here in a country post-election, hoping that people can find a way to work together? So what is there to be thankful for in your opinion right now?
Well, I have so much to be thankful for: my family, my health, the opportunity to work with tremendous people here at this college, and folks like you, friends like you, Dan. So I have so much to be grateful for. I'm blessed. I know that, and for me professionally, to have this great chance that I get to work with 400 of just fantastic young people in the athletic department and our student athletes on a daily basis, my staff. I'm blessed to have this opportunity to be at an institution with high values and high morals, high standards, and place that I'm very comfortable at. And again, most of all, I'm so blessed for my health, but for my family's health. It's been a really good year for the Brett family, and I have much to be grateful for this holiday season. And we take nothing for granted, that's for sure. Every day is an opportunity and a blessing. So for me, this holiday season is one that I will be immensely grateful.
And DT for the LeMoyne College Dolphins as we are here inside of Dolphin Time and speaking on the future, looking at women's soccer, looking at volleyball, and where we go from here. So, Bob, thank you for some time this morning. And as always, like you had mentioned, thank you for our connection and our bond work-wise, and more than anything else, the friendship, and that in this world you can find people that just are good people. And I very much, from the day I met you and shook your hand right outside of Ted Grant Court, I appreciate how you've treated me, the respect that you've given me, and the opportunity. So thank you for coming into our community and being who you are. And like I told you this holiday season, doors always open. As long as you like Rigot pie. So, but doors always open over here.
Well, Dan, thanks you. I greatly value our professional relationship, but more so our personal friendship. So thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to all your fans and followers here, and look forward to talking to you here, hopefully shortly with some other good news.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to talking with you soon. Take care of the Heights, and we'll see you shortly, I'm sure.
All the best, Dan. Thanks very much.
All right. Take care. That coming here from Bob Beretta one more time on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life here with fins up is something that you see when it comes to anything we talk about on the Heights with Moyne College and our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership, AD and DT, is what you just heard from the athletics director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora. And of course, this week you also got yourself a healthy dose of the Dolphin Dive, where we started off the week with Tom Bonus, and we appreciate Tom and all the coaches, student athletes, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni that have joined the broadcast here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora to truly embody what it means to say fins up. So we appreciate you all. As LeMoyne College looks toward the future, reclassification, realignment, that's been going on for half a year here. As we continue to navigate through that process, any content when it comes to that coming out publicly has been shared by the exclusive multimedia marketing partnership between Dan Tortora Broadcast Media and Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, its product, and with the LeMoyne College community. So we are very happy to be the exclusive home for our content when it comes to LeMoyne and our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership, and within all of this, reclassification and realignment being a part of that as well. So if and when that news comes, it'll come through us, and I would take anything else you read with a grain of salt. I am very honored that Athletics Director Bob Beretta and President Dr. Linda Lemura, as well as so many wonderful people on campus, have given me the opportunity to tell their stories. And when it comes to realignment and reclassification and LeMoyne potentially looking to go Division I cannot thank them enough for trusting me with this chronicling of such a potential monumentous move for the school, and at the same time a potential decision to maybe stay and grow within that. So TBD, so to speak, and I'm so grateful that we've been able to tell this story. You can check out all of our LeMoyne content, including our exclusive series at LeMoyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com, and by subscribing to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. With that being said, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. When we come back inside of ModPawsPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', my second guest of the day will be joining my show for the first time ever, as Michelle Montaine joins us, sports anchor and reporter from ABC 8 in Tulsa, Oklahoma, will be joining me here, and also MLS Next Pro reporter, and we'll have our picture-in-picture conversation from Oklahoma to New York, where I currently am, and have the opportunity to speak on college football inside of the quote-unquote Power 5 and the quote-unquote Group of 5. We'll talk about the American Athletic Conference. Her and I have covered Tulsa for a bit here. I've covered this American Athletic Conference since before it had a name and a logo. So we'll be speaking about Tulsa. Philip Montgomery, one of my favorite coaches in the country, and one of the best people, most humble people I've been able to meet in my profession. We'll also talk about Oklahoma State, her alma mater of Texas, the SEC, the Big 12, and so on and so forth. And I can only imagine some comedy that will come from this, as we will play rapid fire as well. So a lot of great stuff coming up with Michelle Montaine after this fast break. Don't miss out on the first time we get to share the stage together, and that's coming up on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios right after this. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, or Liverpool Month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York. Open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicoli's.com. That's myaviccollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground, and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. It is my honor and my privilege to be able to have graced the stage with over 3,000 guests, and we've had so many wonderful people from across the world. Michelle Montaine is one of our newest faces, and I get to welcome her to the show for the first time ever. Sports reporter and anchor for ABC 8 in Tulsa, as well as the MLS Next Pro reporter as well. We have talked off the air, and now we get to talk on the air for the first time. So I'm very happy, Michelle, to welcome you to the show for the first time. How are you?
It's my honor and privilege, Dan. I'm good. I am super excited to be on the show. I think that you do such a great job, so I'm super pumped.
Well, thank you for that. And we crossed paths with the American Athletic Conference and getting used to just zooming it up for the last few years. So, I ask a question at Tulsa, you ask a question at Tulsa. So that's how we crossed paths through the American Athletic. What's it been like for you to cover this conference that I don't think gets enough love? And I've been with them since before they had a name and a logo. So Mike Oresco knows how I feel about the American, but what's it been like for you?
It has been incredible. So being based in Tulsa, I mean, we cover obviously the other Power 5 schools in the state, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, but Tulsa is the one who's right down the street. So I can be at their press conferences every week. I can be on the sidelines for their games every week, and getting to cover this team specifically. I was actually just on campus yesterday. We had Montgomery's press conference early this week since they play Thursday. And afterwards I was talking with their SID, and I was just saying, like, I can't believe how lucky I got to be covering this conference and specifically this school, because I can't speak highly enough about Coach Montgomery, about his staff, about the way that the players treat everyone in media with such respect. And that extends, honestly, beyond just the football program. They have a new head coach in basketball, Eric Conkle, coming in. Obviously, their longtime women's basketball coach is just as incredible. So covering the Athletic has been a real treat. Obviously, this season, we've seen some shakeups just in terms of, obviously, the top spot. But covering Tulsa, you get to obviously cover all of the teams they compete against. And so, like you said, I've gotten to meet other people in the media covering this conference, but I agree with you when you're talking about kind of the volume of coverage. It's honestly not anywhere near where it probably should be, given the excitement of this conference and especially the trajectory it's been on in these recent years.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, and I don't know if you have heard this, but so Mike Oresco, the commissioner of the conference, and I have talked for pretty much a decade now. And the day that I met him, we were in Newport, Rhode Island, Goat Island, which I greatly miss, our clam bakes and our free lobster. And
I just heard about those yesterday. I heard that when they were headquartered there.
Got to experience it, right?
No.
So yeah, Newport, Rhode Island. I mean, there's a mansion tour. You drive like right on the water, like you could go into the ocean. It's crazy, and it's always hot when we go down. It's always like in the 90s. Great golf experience too, and yeah, everything was great down there. But now we haven't been able to do that for a minute because of COVID, and then they moved to Irving, Texas. But when I met Mike, we were talking about a few things, and I always like to network and build relationships. And I'll never forget, I put my arm around Mike, and he said, "Thanks for being here." And I said, "Well, from one redheaded stepchild to the other, because I was just starting my company, Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, and they were just starting the American, and so we literally get to have. I just had my 10-year anniversary. They're going to have their 10-year anniversary, and I'll never forget that moment to what it is today. And you spoke about, the fact that it doesn't get the coverage it deserves. We have seen the Cincinnatis and we've seen the UCFs, and this year Tulane is making a run. Tulsa has had, Philip Montgomery has done a lot of great things there. Looking at the American Athletic, you cover the Power 5 and those teams outside of it, and so do I. So how do you view the balance of power with a conference that always talks about Power 6?
I think when you look at kind of the reasons for coverage, right? Like, Tulsa is the smallest school in FBS in terms of enrollment. So what does that mean? That means it generates a smaller alumni base. It typically will generate a smaller fan base, right? Versus I don't know OU's enrollment off the top of my head, but I know it's in like the 30,000 or 40 or multiple tens of thousands range versus, 2 or 3 that Tulsa has. So I think what everything seems to come down to, right, is money. So when you have more eyes and more people that care about, say, in Oklahoma or in Oklahoma State, just because of personal ties or just traditions and growing up in this state and whatnot, it makes sense from a coverage perspective. And then you think about even what I've experienced firsthand is Oklahoma is, it's based in Norman, that's right outside of Oklahoma City. So there's a city around that program versus even Stillwater, where Stillwater's a bit more rural. So you have your Oklahoma State diehard fans, but even, the difference in geography, I would say plays a role in types of coverage, just literally from like a can you get there or not easily standpoint. So, I think while you have programs that have those traditions of excellence, I'll just talk about the state here because that's where I am. Oklahoma is one of the most dominant and decorated football programs in history. Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy has had more winning seasons in his 18 years as head coach than not. The Cowboys are always up there in like that 8-win, 9-win, 10-win or more category. Compare that to Tulsa that just has a smaller footprint. Now, I will say last year they had 2 NFL draft picks. They've had 2 first rounders in the last 2 years. So they're making that mark. Like you said, Montgomery's done an incredible job while he's been here. But I think just when you look at size, when you look at obviously the money stream, that drives kind of what gets more coverage than what doesn't. But I will say from a, you know this better than anyone. This is a people business. Sports in general, like sports media or sports management or even coaching, like all of it is relationship based.
Yeah.
And the access you get and just the relationships you're able to build at some of these programs where there isn't as much coverage are a lot more personal. And that to me has been, I kind of mentioned it in my first answer, has been what's made a huge difference for me.
Yeah, I mean, Philip Montgomery, his wife, I mean, it just everything about how they go about what they do and the conversations that him and I have been able to have, I consider him so much more than a football coach. And, and just, I mean, he's somebody that you root for. It doesn't matter. I mean, it could be like, hey, there's an alien attack. And it's like, well, if Philip's against him, I'm going with Montgomery. There's something about the way he goes about it. And so in your coverage of Tulsa, how would you describe? I know you talking about speaking with the SID and whatnot, but not just the football program, but in general, when you step onto campus and you're around the University of Tulsa, that leaves you with blank. Fill in that blank for me.
A smile, for sure. Like, I'm not even just saying that. Coach Montgomery was the first head coach of a FBS or a Division I program that I met when I started at Channel 8. And it was during TU's media days, or I should say, first one I met in person. And the way you do media days, right, you have one-on-one conversations with any of the coaches and coordinators and then players that are available. And he was the first coach. He's from Texas. I'm from Texas. Before we even started, on air, we just sat there for like 5 to 10 minutes, got to know one another. And, a lot of the sports directors in this area have been here for a while. And so they all already had these relationships with him that I could see playing this day as soon as I got there. And so for him to sit there and just, get to know me, we obviously bonded over being from Texas. And I knew a bit about him just from his time in Waco. And so, I went to UT and obviously we played Baylor. I know friends that played for Baylor. And so it was just that one encounter. My first encounter with him was so positive. And you just took all the words out of my mouth describing him. You root for him. Like, I obviously don't know him, personally, but I've interacted with him a number of times, and every time he's just so respectful. He's just such a good guy. So that has been such a positive experience. And then as far as the players go, I don't know if they're all just nice people, truly, but like, you listen to Kandarian Ray after a loss. The guy's just so positive, and he's obviously heartbroken over these losses that they've faced this year, but he's still he's still a nice, positive person. Same with we talked with Tyon Davis yesterday. The guy has $1 million smile. He's they've been struggling this season I've been here to cover them, and yet they're still pleasant to be around, right? It's not like any sort of like I'm better than the media or I'm better than anyone else. It's just overall like a positive, inviting, like welcoming place to be. And so when you say like it leaves me with what? It leaves me with a smile. Like I look forward to going to TU games. I look forward to getting to talk with coaches and players always. So I've really enjoyed it.
You said that you bonded with Philip Montgomery over both being from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
What part of Texas is home?
I'm from San Antonio, so South Texas.
So I have been to Houston multiple times. I can describe Houston City as confusing, and I remember. So I've had an interesting kind of walk in Houston. The first time that I went down to Houston, it was for the first American Athletic Championship game for football, and it was Houston when they had Greg Ward Jr. And so I remember going back to that game. I think it was Houston Temple. Pretty sure it was. And for that game, I could not figure out where to go once I got there because I'd never been there before. So I'm dressed up, got all the work clothes on. It's hot. There's no cover. I'm carrying my briefcase. I walked to the outskirts of Houston to where The Walking Dead would show itself if it was ever like a TV show there. And I was like, wow, this must be what it looked like when they filmed in Atlanta. And there's like weeds everywhere. I'm on the outskirts. I'm looking for like the trolley car or whatever to get me where I need to go.
Yeah.
And then I remember trying to find food, and I'm walking downtown, and there was nobody there.
Yeah.
And I got into this Italian restaurant, and I said to the guy, I go, what's going on? He said, well, at 4:00, everybody leaves the city, so we don't keep our restaurants open. I'm like, what are you talking about? So I'm going by like the Houston Dynamo and all these like great arenas, but there was no food. There was a McDonald's and an Italian restaurant. And the guy's like, well, good thing you got in here. We close in an hour. I'm like, I'm not eating at McDonald's in Houston.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. So that was my first experience. My second experience of being in Houston was for the Final Four when Sarah played there in 2016. And my dad and I were staying at a hotel. We come back one day, and there's all of these Secret Service vehicles, and the building next door had nothing going on. So I'm thinking, like, are we by some, like, secret SWAT place where they train? Like, what is this tan building for next to the hotel? No, Joe Biden was staying in the hotel, and this was before he was president. So it was a very unique time in Houston for me. And the first time I ever saw on a highway that they'll block out 2 to 3 miles for like the motorcade.
Yeah.
So
no, and those are 6-lane highways that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Houston, a good word for it. Confusing.
Very confusing.
Yeah.
So I've never been to San Antonio. Describe to me in 3 words San Antonio being a native.
Welcoming.
Okay.
Sunny. It's always hot. And small town feel in a big city. Like San Antonio is not your typical big city. Everyone is super. It's more like down home. Like there's no pretentious San Antonio vibes. It's down home. Like not everyone is rural wearing boots, but it's not. People are generally pretty nice. Like it's a friendly town. There's a lot of Hispanic culture that you can see really everywhere across the city, not just downtown where you have the Alamo, but really it's kind of dispersed throughout the entire city. And I'm not from downtown, we live like outside of the loop, or I grew up outside of the loop. But I feel like anywhere you go, it's just a friendly place. Like people are even at the grocery store or the CVS or Walgreens. Like everyone's just pretty nice. I loved growing up there. It gets a bad rap, but I loved growing up there.
Why does San Antonio get a bad? And first, I mean, being part Hispanic, I love that you said that there's a lot of culture there. Why does San Antonio get a bad rap?
One word. So I use 3 words. I think one word some people would use is probably like sleepy. But I would say maybe it's not your Austin or your LA for people in their 20s to their 30s. But it's on the up and up. They've developed some new areas and like trendy bar type restaurant scenes in different areas around the city, like the Pearl, and then out west at like the La Cantera area, the Rim area. But I would say it's probably more of like a family oriented place. So not the most like lively going out scene maybe. So people might describe it as sleepy, but that's why it probably doesn't get a great rap, at least from people kind of in my age range at this point in their lives.
I like that it's called I like sleepy. To me that's nice. Fam, like you said, down home, just like not crazy. People know people. That's exactly where I would want to go. Like I tell people all the time, I'll go to New York City for a day or a weekend.
Yeah.
But that's my fill. I will go to MetLife and then leave, and that's okay with me. Like I went down for New York Comic Con for our Super Powered Pop Entertainment show, and we stayed. So my cousin, he's like a little brother to me. We stayed outside in a really nice area, so we were close enough to the city but far enough away. But the first day, he looked at me and he said, "Yeah, I'm a little tired. You're gonna drive home." And I was like, "Never driven here before." So I did drive right outside of JFK, and I got hit by a drunk driver years ago.
Oh my gosh.
So to put me in that situation, he's like, "Yeah, you're driving home. It's about 15, 20 minutes if there's not a lot of traffic." I looked up at God. I was exhausted. And I looked up and I said, please just get me home. Like, get me home safe. And we did, and it was fine. And I was able to pull in. But I looked at him like, why would you tell me that, like, right before you're driving home?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Give me some time to prepare.
Yeah. Like, we were just at this show for like 13 hours. Like, I'm not in my right mindset right now. I'm tired.
Yeah.
So San Antonio, best places to eat.
Oh gosh. This is the thing.
And I'm really hungry in the studio right now. I don't know why I asked you this question, but I need to know.
I've been asked this question a number of times.
What are you going to tell me, that you're boring and you don't eat a lot of the food?
I don't have a good palate in the first place. Like, I just don't spend I'm not like, there are foodies in the world. I'm like the opposite of that. Like, I enjoy good food, but I don't seek it out. I don't really care. Like,
so you're down in San Antonio eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, wondering why people care so much about the food.
Let me tell you for context here. Someone asked me the best Mexican restaurant in San Antonio, and I said Chuy's. Now, if you know what Chuy's is, it's a chain restaurant, and it wasn't even started in San Antonio. The original is in Austin, and I would go there all the time when I was in school. So when I said that, I was immediately shot down with, "You've got to be kidding me." And my next favorite place to eat was Chick-fil-A. So, like, I'm not the person to ask for best places to eat. There are a few, like, favorite staples. We love Saluna. That's a good one in, like, the Alamo Heights area. Oh my gosh, the main one. They have cheese whiz. I'm thinking. Oh my gosh. My friends go every single weekend. I can't think of it.
I'm going to save this segment that is on air to the world right now, because you said Chick-fil-A. So in upstate New York, I never had one. I never had a Chick-fil-A in upstate New York growing up here. And I wanted one for like 13 years that I had known about it. So we got Chick-fil-A Cicero, Chick-fil-A Clay, and now Chick-fil-A Watertown, all in New York. And we're partnered with all of them. So the fact that you mentioned them, I can shameless plug them all I want.
There we go.
I need to know your Chick-fil-A go-to meal.
The chicken sandwich, number one. Like, that's how basic. But I have like 8 Chick-fil-A sauces on it.
But so you put all the sauces. Okay.
Oh, yeah. all the sauces. We'll get some Chick-fil-A sauce. You get ranch, maybe a little bit of the Polynesian.
Gotta have the Polynesian.
Gotta have Polynesian. Yeah. The restaurant I was forgetting is El Mirasol. It's you have to go. If you get to San Antonio, you have to go.
Okay.
Get a chispa.
Get a what?
A chispa.
Chispa?
It's like a margarita, but it's just tequila, lime juice, and I think soda. I don't know, but it's better than margarita.
I love that I asked you about food and you gave me a.
So what it says about me.
That's all right, but so Chick-fil-A. Do you get the Chick-fil-A shake? Do you ever get shakes there or no?
I do sometimes, but not very often. I think their peppermint one during the holidays is really good, right? Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought I would like it. It's like candy cane meets chocolate, but it's so good. And the autumn spice one that they just came out with is actually good too.
I have to try that. I haven't tried it yet. I will go.
Being in October, baby, anything that's autumn pumpkin related, I give it a shot. So
my pumpkin cold brew right here. I am all pumpkin. I have everything pumpkin in this apartment right now, all from Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's is actually pretty good at living up to the pumpkin.
Yeah.
They have pumpkin ravioli, I think I got there before.
Pumpkin bisque, like soup. They have pumpkin hummus. Obviously pumpkin bread. They just came out with gingerbread for the fall, or for the winter theme. Yeah, they got a lot.
We just gave a shameless plug to Trader Joe's. They don't. Yeah. So if we say it one more time, so go ahead.
We love Trader Joe's.
There you go. So that's 3. Now you owe me something to Trader Joe's. So, but they have a lot of great stuff there, and I appreciate the fact that 100% of the screen right now, to all of you watching and listening, can appreciate the pumpkin in this world, because people, why they either love it or they violently hate it, and I don't know why there's such a difference. But in Oklahoma, is there a love for the pumpkin spice world? Do we get that in Oklahoma?
I don't really know. I don't really get the feeling that we do.
Okay. You do.
I absolutely do. I'll keep us running. But for some reason, I don't really get the sense that it's like a big deal here. For instance, like when I'm at Trader Joe's, all of the pumpkin offers, all the pumpkin items fully stocked. But I don't know. I need to get a better pulse on that, to be honest.
You will work on that for the next
on that. Yes.
1 week of call. So while you're working on the pumpkin situation and arrangement at Trader Joe's, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, long-time rivalry in the Big 12, and then Oklahoma and Texas decide. So your alma mater and one of the schools you cover say, "Hey, guess what? We're going to the SEC. See you later." What has been the pulse of that and the remnants of that this all happened during COVID times? How is this Oklahoma and Oklahoma State? They don't like each other, but is it even more so of a hatred of like, hey, we're the identifiers of this conference and you just decided to walk out? What's that been like from within it?
So the second part of that, the Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma portion, already not liking each other and now you're leaving. I would say it's intensified the dislike, if you will, because I think Oklahoma and Texas are kind of the mainstays in the conference. So with them gone, who's the face of the Big 12, right? Well, Oklahoma State in the last, almost 2 decades has been kind of that, I'm not going to say third best team, because to be honest, in the last decade, Oklahoma State's had better records than Texas, generally speaking. But I would say Oklahoma State's kind of the next one up, right? And just in terms of visibility and attachment from like the national level to, okay, who do we identify the Big 12 with, right? So the fact that Oklahoma, Texas are leaving, Mike Gundy had some choice words during even Big 12 media days right after that had been released, and then we actually were able to hear from the coaches. He said something along the lines of like, they're leaving, why are we still talking about them? So I think from that standpoint, the almost disdain or whatever it is has intensified, because when you have both of those kind of big time programs leaving, that creates a massive void, right? And look at TCU right now. I mean, they're the best in the conference, yet they're still struggling to get the recognition on a national stage. And that's probably because of just the brand recognition, right? And the tradition and history of the program, which Texas and Oklahoma have, whereas like a TCU might not. So that's kind of the Oklahoma side. Now, from a Oklahoma and Texas leaving, like what's the pulse of that? To be honest, I'll speak of each of them differently because they're such different programs when it comes to the last 10 years and their relevancy. Texas has struggled. I've lived through it. When I was in school there, I went through 3 different head coaches. So when you talk about like Texas being ready to compete in the most competitive conference, or I'll say the conference with some of the most dominant teams year in and year out, there's a hesitation almost, right? Like we've been in the state that's ripe with talent, and yet we haven't been able to recruit Texas. So when you talk about then not being able to recruit your own state, and now you're going to go compete with some of the best teams in the country week in and week out, I think the pulse is we've got a lot of work to do before we get to a level where we can actually be successful in the SEC. Oklahoma, on the other hand, this year I would say is more of an outlier than not. You know, Oklahoma has been at the top of the national, list, if you will, for ever since 1999 or really 2000 when Bob Stoops got this thing going. And so I think Oklahoma going into the SEC made a bit more sense from a performance standpoint. They've been competing with the Alabamas and the Georgias in recent years, just in bowl games and postseason play already. And they've proven that they can stand up to that conference. So I think from that perspective, the pulse is we're ready. We've already been recruiting at a high level, I would say, dating back to when Bob Stoops took over. So they seem, like I said, this year's kind of an outlier, but they seemed a little bit more ready just in terms of, can we compete now, than I'd say Texas had ahead of this year. They're doing much better this year, though second halves have been killing them. So I think the pulse is our brands fit into the SEC, no doubt. But will our play also reflect that on the field? I think that's TBD, especially now, given what Oklahoma looks like this season and even what Texas looks like this season.
And I appreciate that and that rundown and breaking down of this piece, because when I heard it and I was looking at the current state of these two programs, I said, all right, Texas, get used to being 6-6 and Oklahoma 8-4. I mean, you're in a conference where you're going to make more money, but the Big 12 network, I've been around for a while, and you go from being the faces of a conference to just being 2 more teams that improve the SEC, but does the SEC need it? They have LSU, they have Alabama, they have, typically in the past, Florida, Texas A&M defeated Alabama last year. You have Georgia, you have a ton of credible teams, Tennessee, Kentucky's gotten better. They don't need the help, but to make this move and to do what they did, it furthers my belief that the SEC is going to form its own. And I really don't think that – I think there's a reason why everything's ending at the same time, right? 2025, 2026, everything's kind of right. What's Notre Dame going to do? And kind of their status at the same time, Oklahoma and Texas shifting over. I think the SEC is prime with 16 schools, and if they do find a way to make it to 20 and take a Clemson, take a Florida State, look at a Miami or something like that, I don't know how you feel about this, but I prognosticated for a while now that the SEC will have its own. The Big Ten's going to try and follow in that footstep and try and make something. And I think the college football playoff could have a college football playoff 1 and a college football playoff 2, have SEC Big Ten, and then say to the other 8 schools in FBS, hey, you're going to play the second tier of this championship with the Big 12 and, the ACC and the American and the Sun Belt and whatnot. I think change is ripe. I think autonomy and that name and that legislative move by the Power 5 had a purpose to it. But I think that within the Power 5, there's a Power 1, maybe a Power 2. And I think we're going to see layers of Division I football. And I think the SEC very well at any given time could turn around, look at everybody else and say, we're going to go on our own. We're going to be all right.
Yeah, I think that that's a real possibility. I guess I get to the point where it kind of is this way already, because in the SEC you have schools like Vanderbilt, and I mean Mississippi State is okay sometimes, but it's not necessarily always like up there. They have schools that lose, but when you have all of these powerful programs playing week in and week out, someone has to lose, in every game.
Yeah.
So if you get so many teams together that are at that high level, if Alabama is playing a good Georgia, a good Tennessee, a good Oklahoma, we'll throw Texas in there, but just because of the brand of it, I would say is a little stronger than, say, like an Ole Miss or Mississippi State. But if they're playing good high-level teams each week, they're not going to go 4-0 against those teams, right? Even if they are Alabama. And so I should say likely, they get some wins in there, like when they play Arkansas and Mississippi State. So I don't know if, and I think the reason the Big Ten has the success it has is because you have Ohio State and Michigan playing teams like Rutgers and Maryland and Purdue, and and I was good sometimes, but like the parity in that conference isn't there either. So I don't know. I'm really interested to see. I think you're right. Like what it really comes down to is the brand and the following and the play on the field from, I would say, really the top 25 teams in the country, right, which make the AP list every week and get all the recognition. And there are obviously the few that, or the handful, I should say, that get in there, right? Like Tulane's in there now, TCU's in there now. But you have the mainstays across college football, whatever conference they're in. You have the UCLAs and the USCs out west. And at some point or another, they being the college football commissioners and people who dictate the money, will at some point figure out a way to have the big name programs playing big name programs and making lots of money, while the group of five and the Power Five schools that aren't necessarily football powerhouses still play and still get TV deals, but just don't have nearly as much recognition. Like if Ohio State isn't playing Maryland or Rutgers isn't getting the recognition they would be if they weren't playing Ohio State.
Yeah, and we could open a giant can of worms on my thoughts on that and having a way unfair advantage. And I said if the Big Ten as a conference, all of them joined the SEC, they would all be Rutgers. So I mean, there's unless you're playing Vanderbilt, or some of those teams, or maybe a Mississippi State or Arkansas in certain years, but I don't think that they could compete if they merged with each other. I don't see the SEC needing any help, and even with an expansion of the college football playoff, how could we not argue that this year alone we would want to see Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, LSU. I mean, we could just have those four teams playing the college football playoff, and that would be incredible. Yeah. So, I think there's a lot to be said about Ohio State and Michigan really not. I would rather take a 2-loss LSU than a no-loss Michigan and put it in the college football playoff right now. And you look at some other teams like what Notre Dame just did to Clemson. So it makes life interesting, but it definitely puts us in a place where I don't think the SEC needs anybody's help, and I think they know that.
Yeah.
But, the country itself in college football, it's a fun job for us. It's fun to do it, and it's an exciting time to see it, but this realignment's not done, and when it shapes out is when the college football playoff, I think, is going to make its ultimate decision on what we need to do. But like I said, Power 5 and outside of the Power 5, we've gotten to see both sides of it in our daily life, which I think is exciting. What has it done for you? Do you find yourself defending the American at times? And then on the other side of it, going to Texas and seeing that they haven't been what you expect them to be, do you look over there and say, hey, they're in a conference where they're going to get a lot of clout that maybe they haven't deserved over the last few years? So you get to see both elements of, here's the teams like TCU and Baylor that don't get the love and respect, but then here's a team like Texas that can lose 3 games and still be in the top 25.
Yeah. Do I see myself defending the American? Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, like when you're there watching the games, you see firsthand the talent on display, right? And to play football at a Division I level, like you have to be pretty good, right? So while playing, Tulane's defense isn't playing Georgia's defense, it's still not a walk in the park. So when you see guys like Tanner Mordecai set an NCAA record against Houston, and you see guys playing at a high level, like we saw Pratt do with Tulane. I watched him play last weekend, or what's today? Yeah, a couple days ago. Now, granted, that wasn't the flashiest football game ever, but you see guys putting up these really impressive performances, but because it's not on ABC primetime, the rest of the world doesn't see it. Yeah. So it does feel like you have to kind of push a little bit harder to say, no, but they are worthy of being right now Tulane in the top 20 because they only have one loss. It was, I would say, kind of a hangover loss. They beat Kansas State in a game where Kansas State, has been good all season for the most part. So inconsistent, but pretty good all season. So yeah, I do feel like when you have these teams that don't get the same level of recognition just outright because of their branding or whatever, yeah, I do feel like you kind of have to defend them a little bit and say, no, they are worthy of being in the conversation. On the other side of that, I think Texas it's a really unique kind of fan base because if you're in it, you obviously love it. If you're not in it, you hate it. Like it's very much like you get to I was watching a game the other day. I don't know if it might have been Kansas OU or who. Actually, I think it was Kansas Oklahoma State. It was Kansas Oklahoma State this last weekend, and the Jayhawk fans were doing horns down. Like Texas is nowhere near this conversation. It's nowhere near the game, but that's like a fan favorite in the Big 12 to do horns down, regardless of if Texas is there or not. So to your point about like, yeah, it has the clout and recognition even when it's not deserved. That's kind of what I think goes into like Texas and OU joining the SEC. They did that because of the brand recognition of those schools. Texas has been bad for a long time. Yeah. Like losing season after losing season. And I think, is it fair? I don't know. I would say the on-field performance should be what matters. But I say that, and Clemson was number 4 in the first college football playoff rankings, and TCU was 7. Like, Clemson is not that good, and that was proven to us by their loss at Notre Dame this weekend. TCU struggled a bit against Tech at the beginning, but obviously pulled out they handed that win to Tech, aggressively there at the end. So, I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily fair, but I think college football is what it is because of the traditions and because of the legacies of some of these programs. And so while I don't think it's necessarily fair always, I think that's part of what makes this sport what it is. So it has to be kind of factored in.
Yeah, I mean, you really put it to it as it's supposed to be about the season that we're playing, but in reality, people like the movie Rudy and Notre Dame used to have good quarterbacks. So, there's something very strange to the reality of it, but that's where we're at. Before I let you go, here with Michelle Montaine, and very much appreciate the fact that after crossing paths on Zoom, that we get to do this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, coming to us, sports reporter and anchor from ABC 8 in Tulsa, and MLS Next pro reporter. So we do a thing on the show called Rapid Fire. Give us an opportunity to get to know each other beyond sports. And the tagline of my company with Wake Up Call has always been where sports meets life. So there's no preparation in this. Mm-hmm. I can tell you, and Michelle can nod to this, I didn't even tell her about this before we went on the So he gets 3 questions, I get 3 questions, and we have to answer them. They could be about literally anything. It's rapid fire, so rapid thought, rapid answer, I'm going to let you start. You can ask me the question first.
Best Gatorade color.
Oh my gosh. Lemon lime. And
Oh my gosh.
so
Wrong.
I'm gonna say lemon lime because when I had a cold years and years ago, I had never had Gatorade, and my mom came home, and so I don't even know how old I was, probably a teenager or something, and she was like, "They told me that you should drink this for electrolytes." So I'm gonna say lemon lime, but I would also say, see, this is the tricky one, and I said lemon lime because of this. There's multiple blue Gatorades, but one of them is disgusting, and I can never figure out, is it glacier ice or freeze or what it is, and there's one that's really good, and then there's one that's nasty.
Okay, glacier ice is horrible. That's the light blue. And the
Okay.
cool blue or whatever it is, the darker blue is the best Gatorade on the planet.
So I started with an answer you didn't like, but I ended with exactly what you were thinking.
Yeah, but you said lemon lime, so I'm already cutting you off. Like, this is, you struck out on strike one.
I guess, if I asked about food, you would just give me another good drink. So my first question to you, if you could be in any fictitious movie or TV world, what TV or movie would you like to live in, and why?
I think cheaper by the dozen.
Okay,
Does that count?
I like that answer. Yeah.
I love the idea of a huge family. Like, how fun would that be? They were swinging from chandeliers. I would be cheaper by the dozen.
And so would you want to be an older sibling or a younger sibling in that family?
Younger, for sure. The younger kids get away with everything. Like, Nora couldn't even bring her boyfriend over without him being ransacked, you know? I'd definitely be a younger kid.
He was a horrible boyfriend. But the younger, I do like that Steve Martin, and he would come on. He knew exactly which kid did it. And
Steve Martin, oh, what a legend.
He's the best. And I can honestly say, see, this is where it's not fair, because my first answer you hated, but your first answer, I sometimes, to cool down, and like when I'm going to sleep and it's like midnight, I have to wind down with something funny. And I have watched Cheaper by the Dozen numerous times to kind of just like shut my brain off and watch something. And I watched it like 1 week. I think it was like almost every day I just put it on in the background.
I love it. It's an original.
All right. What's your second one for me? Let's see if I can not strike out on this one.
This one's easy. Twitter or Instagram? And why?
I liken Twitter. Please don't get mad at me, you tweeting people out there. I liken Twitter to when you get a handle. Mm-hmm. They hand you, they put a blop of like a just clump of mashed potatoes in your hand, and so you walk into Twitter and you can either throw it in the trash or throw it at somebody. Mm-hmm. I consider Twitter a giant food fight. Does it work for my company? Absolutely. But on Instagram, I decided a couple of years ago, healthy mind, healthy body. When COVID started, I just kind of changed a lot of things up, and I would go out and I would walk and put inspirational stuff out, and I kept looking for inspiration. And then I was like, you know what? Why don't I take whatever's bothering me today, try to inspire myself, write a quote, and then put it out there for people. And if it helps me, maybe it can help somebody else. So if you go on my Instagram story pretty much daily, I'll write something and I sign each of them individually. And so I would say Instagram, because I just did it for fun, did it for myself, and then hoped I could help somebody else. And now, like, if I don't put anything up on my story, the moment I do, people are like, what did he say? So, like, I do find that it is a positive place, and I find that a lot of people are looking for inspiration on Instagram, and I try to be that. So I guess I would pick Instagram because of that.
Better answer on number 2 than number 1.
Thank you. So I've never been asked that question before. Okay. All right, Michelle. I know I can't go to food, so
I'm sorry.
So let's see here. Music. Well, this is not my question, but it's going to help base my question off of. So what music are you listening to typically?
I listen to Christian and country music.
Christian and
I'm not good with music and food, but
okay. So so that's been erased as well. Just cornering the market on what. Okay, so how about this?
Oh
How
god.
about this? You're in a rap battle, Michelle. Who do you,
Okay.
who do you think of your friends would be the top three people that you could beat in a rap battle?
The thought of me rapping is nightmarish.
That's why I want to have this conversation.
But of my friends, just like people I know,
Yeah, people you know. Unless there's a rapper you want to go up against, but
yeah, Nicki Minaj. No. I would literally pass out. My brother,
okay.
because we would just laugh. Um, actually, my best friend. So my best friend is, or one of my best friends is an Oklahoma Sooner. So we have a love hate. I'm kidding. We just love each other. But she actually made OU buttons with my face on them. Like OU buttons is a big thing, and she made them with my face, like dreaming of Boomer.
Wow.
She is actually very linguistically talented, so she would completely beat me, but it would be funny. So I'd say her, and my friends who I could beat. Honestly, like most of my guy friends from high school, just throw one in there.
Okay.
They can't rap. They don't know. They're too cool for that. I'd say those three. Brother, best friend, insert guy from high school.
Okay. So
That I'm still good friends with.
every guy from your high school with an inability to rap. I like it.
That is all of them.
Okay.
I hope they don't take offense to that.
No, why would anybody take offense to the fact that you said insert anyone from your high school and they cannot rap? So
Oh, that's yeah.
yeah.
I could.
Well, you know what? Then I would love to rap battle any of them coming from New York. I think I got a few bars here that I can hand down to Texas. We'll see.
For sure. For sure. All right, last one for you. 3 words to describe you.
3 words to describe me. Not good at picking Gatorade. So I would say
I would agree.
3 words to describe me. I would say faithful, because my faith in God is first, more than anything, and that'll never change. So I would say faithful as my connection to God, but also with people. I think, people can have faith in me and know that I'm going to come through because I take that very on my chest at all times. I would say comedic. I do love making people laugh daily. So that's fun for me. So I would say faithful, comedic, and I would say, okay, I'm going to hit you with one that I think is used incorrectly in society. People say that they're hopeless romantics. I would say I'm a hopeful romantic, in that this world is insane. And if you asked me a question about dating apps, you would have got a fantastic answer. But as a single man in society, I have the hope that chivalry is not dead. I call it the Captain America complex, but I would like to hope that some people still like a gentleman. So I would say that. I would say I'm a gentleman.
All 3 good answers. Each of your rapid fire answers got better.
Okay. Yours have gotten progressively worse. No, I'm kidding.
No, they have.
Okay. My last one, no, it didn't get worse at all. Just for the guys in your high school, I'm fine. So my last one for you, you gave me such a good one. Okay. How about this? I'm gonna throw it at you since you didn't throw it at me. We make a dating app profile for Michelle Montaine. What do we say in the dating profile? What is your bio? I've never asked this question, but it provoked it. So
I've never answered it. What would it say?
Yeah.
Like sports, believe it or not.
Would you have a picture of you holding a fish like every woman has, or no?
Oh, every woman. No.
Yeah.
I have gone fishing before, but I don't like to hold it. Outgoing.
Okay.
Nice. I generally try to be a nice person. I I'm not funny personally, but I need someone who's funny. And yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much the bio. I live in Oklahoma right now.
So I'm gonna.
Did I check the box?
I'm gonna summarize your bio.
Oh God. Okay.
Michelle Montaine loves sports and will fish, hates to hold the fish.
Accurate. Lives in Oklahoma. Not a lot of fish here.
Not necessarily funny, but needs to be with a funny person. And is currently living in Oklahoma.
That's literally perfect.
And tries to be a nice person.
Tries to be a nice person. And that is Michelle Montaine.
Michelle Montaine. There you go. So with that being said, Michelle Montaine, our special guest here today on Wake Up Call, sports reporter and anchor for ABC 8 in Tulsa, as well as MLS Next pro reporter. Michelle, it has been my honor and my privilege to have you today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So much fun. I look forward to the next one. I'll have better rapid fire questions.
Fair enough.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5 Camillus, where you will find handcrafted all-natural soy wax candles over 60 cents to freshen up your home. We carry a wide range of locally made items, Salsa Q's, Syracuse Salt, and Chocolate Pizza Company, to name a few. Let our knowledgeable staff help choose unique gifts and keepsakes for any occasion. Gifts for family and friends, and maybe a little something for yourself. Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5 Camillus.
This is a special message from Merritt Brady, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York.
Chick-fil-A for me has always been about the people. I think it starts with the strength and leadership of the Cathy family. It's just amazing to see a family-run business reach the altitude that they have. Second mile service is something that we embodied at my previous business, and the ability to make people feel like they're the only person at your establishment, that you are there to serve them that day and looking for those extra ways to make them happy, to anticipate what they need next is what makes me tick. And I'm going to have so many opportunities at Chick-fil-A to do that. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world. My favorite application question or interview question when I'm interviewing is when I get to, have you ever eaten at Chick-fil-A? and a smile hits both their ears, you know, they can't even answer the question for a second. And when I see that, it's like, man, that's going to be a great hire. They already get it. They already feel it. They already know that we're different. The Chick-fil-A experience, it's a real thing. And then, of course, just our generosity and community involvement and making a positive impact in the lives of our team members, our guests, and the community in general, I think is really the secret sauce.
Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York. Coming to you fall 2022. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, hanging out with you where sports truly meets that thing called life. I want to thank you for being a part of the show, as always, every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And thank you for being here with us this morning especially. So hope you're having a great morning. Hope you're taking some time for yourself today. Do something. You know, it's nice to check in, right? See how you're doing and see how you're feeling, and just make sure that you take care of number one, right? You got to take care of yourself. People call it selfish. I call it, well, for being here with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Cafe Kubal, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York. You'll also find them on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse in their drive-through location, and you'll find them by going to 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York. And you're here with us inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, watching and listening on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, as well as on Facebook.com /LiveNowDT, MixLR.com /WakeUpCallDT, and the homepage on WakeUpCallDT.com. As you know, on Wednesday broadcasts, we end the first set and start a new video when it comes to fantasy football, because there's so much fantasy football advice that we do. It's a show within a show, and we want to make sure to get that out to you, and that you can go back and watch it and watch and listen to it in case you need any fantasy football advice all throughout the week. So from inside the Cafe Kubal Studios, we have our new Namaste at Home candle. Those of you that watch the show know that I had a Namaste at Home candle that I burned all the way down to the bitter end. So I have an incredible mom, and she was like, you know what? I'm going to get you a Namaste at Home candle. And it was perfect timing. I looked at my mom. I was like, I literally needed to buy one, and I was going to do that, because this, I believe, it's very hard to pick a favorite at Witty Wicks, but I think Namaste at Home, I think at this point, it's like top two. Autumn and Cuse and Namaste at Home, and also Windows Wide Open. Yeah, I have an issue, because when it comes to Witty Wicks, I can't really choose, so then you buy them all, but I don't think it's an issue. I think it's a good thing. It's called supporting local, so make sure you do that. And we're going to come back on this video on YouTube.com and Facebook.com /WakeUpCallDT. For those of you listening in on MixLR.com /WakeUpCallDT and on WakeUpCallDT.com, you don't have to do a thing. We'll stay with you here, but for those of you